Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Millett live at 5. I just noticed something. I started this all over again. Now, it's a bit slow here, but what I noticed, because I did start the live at 5 on time, and when I did another live at 5 the other day, I didn't know this, but I could have a sense that nobody was on. And today what I noticed as I was just looking at the side is that it was only me who was seeing this video. There was actually an added piece that I had to select to actually go public. So here we are. So I thought I was just going to, after several minutes, no, probably like 14 minutes, I was just going to stop that one because nobody had been on. I saw that it was only me in the video, and I ended it. So that's very interesting how these things are changing and censoring is happening. So it's probably one of the biggest reasons why the other video, there was only, how can I say it, there was only a few views for it. So censoring. So let's so one of the things I mentioned in the other one was I was going to bring forward something new, is for those who have aware that I have talked about in the past, wonder of the world plant, and you can make tea with it. And this tea, wonder of the world tea, initially when I just did it, is I took the leaf and I had boiled the kettle and then steeped it with the leaf in tea, and it was very, very light. But what I've learned is I'm actually supposed to boil the water and simmer the leaf for 10 to 20 minutes. I'm going to say 20 minutes, and then see what happens. So I'm going to do that the next live at 5. But yes, I just was aware that Facebook has made changes, and I was, for this live at 5 and the other one, it was showing only me. Only me. So for those who do live at 5s in Facebook, somewhere in the settings or somewhere you can see as you're setting up to go live is something you have to click on and say public. So that was very interesting. Now the words I've chosen for today is truths, which we'll get into a bit in a bit, but also time and also tests. But I want to talk about the tests here because I want to bring more of a, sometimes we see of all this happening around us, but this event, or any events, I'm going to bring it into within ourselves, which is testing. We're getting tested, absolutely getting tested. And tests are not just your exam if you're going to school, not just that at all. Tests can be as simple as this. If you thought you became, let's say, unfearful of certain things, well, you may be tested. And in the moment you won't know that, but it'll kind of come up and you'll think, well, I thought, I would, but it comes in a way that you don't know immediately, but you kind of tune into, oh my God, I was tested to see if I was still fearful of that, or if I still didn't gain as much patience as I thought I had. And so this event is a test. Look at it as a test of your groundedness, a test of your patience, a test of many sorts. But here's the potential, and here's the opportunity. Depending on how you react to what's going on, whether you read something or something happens because you're out and about, or people, or whatever they do. I use usually the car analogy. You're out driving, and for some of us, you may have some pet peeves about people doing this or doing that, and you react to it, right? And that reaction is to show you that there's something within you that either hasn't gained understanding or the patience or whatever, to let it go, to just better understand it, to see the other side, to put yourself in other people's shoes. I know I'm talking a mile a minute on this, so there's so many things that can weave into this. But if you get angry over something, I'm just going to use that one because that's a good one. If you get angry on things, then there's anger within you. Anger within you, either a forgiveness of yourself or somebody else who has made you angry at some time in your life. Now, you might have carried on anger in many ways and it's come out in many different times, but there's going to be an initial time, the first time that it has happened and it affected you to a degree that you're holding on to. Trust issues can be the same thing. So this is the opportunity for growth, and where the opportunities, because the crazy things that are happening, it's an amazing test, because, and an amazing thing to welcome, because if you welcome it, then you're going to stand back and be the observer. You're going to say, bring it on. You know, what's going to happen, and see how I can react, and what am I going to learn about myself, and what I have not let go, what I have not dealt with, what I have not forgiven, what am I holding on to. And so tests. So this is, look, this is a big test as well, to allow yourself to grow. This is a huge opportunity to grow. Now, some people are completely oblivious to what's going on here. Oh, hi, Angel. Oh, we're very good here. I hope you're good there too. The idea is, because this has gone on, this event has gone on for a very long time, and it's not a very long time, time is time, but it has been given more time than the initial, it's going to be, you know, let's just do it for 2 weeks, let's just do it for a month. That has gone on. You know, the time has passed by far from that. So time is another thing. So given the time, we are given this time an opportunity to take advantage of being tested, for sure, of how we react and respond to what we're watching, what we're being dealt, and that's a great thing. So time is being present, of course. This isn't, the past is the past. We can't do anything about that time other than, what do you need to do to let it go, to come to terms with it, to accept it, to forgive, all of those things. This is the time to do that, the present time. Anything that you're getting worried about is in a future time. You can make changes now to come to terms with that feeling of worry or anxiety. This time, now, you may feel that you're not able to deal it, and absolutely, I mean, I've done 10 years of metaphysical and work in this, to recognize it, to do it for my clients, and I saw that as very beneficial, and I've learned so much. But it is understanding it, absolutely, your inner workings, your altered ego. And when it comes to truths, the truths of the matter are what we let our mind get away with, our negative ego get away with, the not true self, but the self that will chirp into our ear on either side. You're not, nope, you're not this, and go to this, and you're worried this, and oh, I'm feeling so bad about doing something that's already time-wise gone. It's over. You can't change it, but how you change your attitude about it, how you think about it, how you treat yourself, instead of beating yourself up over it, or beating and up on other people, or judging others for the things that happen. So there's many things around truths, time, and tests that weave together for us right now. So it's not our true self to understand that we're not good enough. That's not our true self. And our true self is not that we have to be perfect. That's not our true self. So remember, we're here experiencing experience of many different things to help us to experience, just for the pure experience of it, to be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes, or to have compassion and empathy for others by having these experiences. Life wasn't meant to go through and be jolly, well, just kind of tiptoe through the tulips kind of thing. It wasn't meant to be like that. So to have that understanding that the truths do not include being perfect, do not include you needing to judge others for them not being perfect. Remember, we always see it internally, what's kind of going on, externally in others, and vice versa. What we see and get bothered by and react to with other people is what we have growing in ourselves when we react a certain way, which is why we can have 10 people go through the same event and have 10 completely different reactions or understanding of the situation. So that's kind of that. I really want to come in at times and just repeat certain things, maybe in a completely different way as I just did today, but I see them as being very of value, of value to all us people, especially going through this time when people, it's on our minds, and at times it's great to hear more people are just going, I'm just living my life as usual, and learning to kind of do that. But there are some fundamental things we have to be aware of, and that's what I'm going to skip into now. Some of this has to do with the news, and I want to thank everybody for sending me videos. I'm nowhere near caught up by any means, and I give certain part of the day to it for sure. And great video. So just so that we all know, the truths are coming out more and more now that time has passed. We see more of the truth of mass. And there was this, I'm going to put these links down, but one of the things was a doctor. Now I wrote it down here, and I had to write down his name because I had, some of you have seen it. Where did I put it? Yes, Hodkinson, Dr. Roger Hodkinson. And I kind of trying to look at what people are sending me if there is common stuff, and they're not always common stuff. But this was a cell phone. I guess he had another phone or video or something, and he videoed his cell phone showing how he enacted recording something that he was looking on his phone. I didn't even know that you could do that, but you record something on your phone, so everything is being recorded. And what happened was there was this doctor come on, and it was a Community and Public Services Committee. Now I'm going to say from finding it for you good people, because it seems like several different sites picked up on this, and they somehow downloaded it somehow and then put it all on their different sites. Well, that's really cool. And I think it was in Edmonton. But here's a group of people, and it looked like there was, from the screen I could see, 30 people, 40, 50 people, who knows, weren't shown on the one screen. But that's a lot of people. And this doctor came on, and he spoke succinctly about how he felt, but not just because he was this person who did all this research. No, this was a doctor of pathology and virology, and he had been a professor, and he was also chairman, medical association, something or other. And I didn't make, I did make a little notes, but here nor there, this guy, needless to say, you'll see it, because he opens up his speech to this group of people, and because he wanted to give his credentials, but he'd also worked in Canada to do with some sort of a medical pathology, some sort of a committee. I'm just going to turn my phone off here as far as silent mode goes. So credentials galore, and in fact he was the chairman of a company that was making these COVID tests. So as he says, he knows a bit of things, he knows the things. Now initially he, like many others, were going, wow, this is bad, we should be helping to help others and all of that. So then he goes on to say, this is now outrageous, this is ridiculous, the masks, the testing and all of that is done. But I found a website that actually goes through. Now let me just see if I can find it easily. Testimony, because there's a different things here. And I do have something new actually to tell you. I thought it was very, very interesting here. So this is a Canadian Dr. Roger Hodkinson. No, this isn't the one that has, somebody must have taped it, and you can use these programs, software like Otter and those kind of things. And it has it right here, so it's all written out for everybody. And what a lovely way of having people who don't know anything about masks actually learn about it from somebody who's got these credentials. But he says it should be thought of nothing more than a bad flu season. Now, I'm hearing from some people here, and from my husband, that in Russia they're having a huge outbreak. Now, I'm not sure what that's all about, but somebody who's 55 got wind that people that he went to university with have died from COVID. We can't say we know what that's about, people, really, without autopsies, without any of that. Is it, there's things that can happen that are beyond the scope of me just talking about today. But yeah, so here's his credential. This is a good one. This is a good one. I'm gonna put both links down below. But this is the title. This is the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on an unsuspecting public, and that's what he comes out with first, as far as the narrative goes. So take a boo at that, but really he was talking about the facts, but also talking about the masks. Masks are utterly useless, he says, and there's no evidence base for their effectiveness whatsoever, which is why the court cases are coming about. Not getting answers from the government, and there's been not good science or low-level science, as some of the narrative will say. So distancing is also useless because COVID is spread by aerosols, which travel 30 meters or so before landing. And then he says enclosures have had such terrible unintended consequences. Everywhere should be open tomorrow, as was stated in the Great Barrington Declaration that I circulated prior to this meeting. So he must have, to the meeting, which is Committee and Public Services Committee. And interesting enough, listening to the whole thing, at the very end, somebody says, well, it's kind of out of our scope. It's not really something we can have impact on. So I don't know who this group was. And it doesn't say it in here. So in the writing, it only has the narrative from the doctor. So you're going to have to watch the short video, which I think is like 6 minutes. It's very short. And listen to the comment they say at the end. It's almost like, well, thank you very much for your time. It's not something we have any pull in or something to that effect. Almost like I could hear the next one. Now, I kind of stopped there, the video, but almost like I could hear, next, just okay, you're finished. You said what you needed to say. Great, but we're not giving you any not any, how can I say it, any passionate thank yous, or does anybody have any questions, or like that. It's almost like they're a robot, and what I didn't even say what can we do. There's nothing like that, but I can just hear the people saying next, did the so-and-so, is they on board, just giving people a forum to talk. But it's absolutely going, I don't want to say viral because that's kind of that word, but it's absolutely being shared all kinds of other places. So here's something interesting. At first, came in here, went and helped my daughter so that my mind was getting this Live at 5 started. But this was interesting because I thought about this. I don't know why it came to me, but I was thinking, why is a hamburger called a hamburger? Ham we know as pork. So where does hamburger? So I thought I'd look it up. So we're just going to make a little deviation here off kind of the news here. So today I found out why a hamburger is called a hamburger. And in the early 18th century, some Germans noticed during their travels to Asia that the locals would stuff their beef between their saddles while they would ride to help soften it for later consumption. That sounds like a little bit of marinating, but it also sounds, if anybody remembers, the hammer, you tenderize your meat. So the Germans loved the idea of soft, seasoned meat, and so they brought the idea back home with them to Hamburg. So as time went on, it soon became known as Hamburg meat. A few years later, German immigrants made their way to the U.S. They shared the recipe for Hamburg meat. Now, I'm not sure how they tenderize it or soften it. I'm sure it wasn't between saddles. So the first record of hamburg meat in the United States was in 1884 when the Boston Evening Journal mentioned hamburg steak. But it wasn't long before people began to put their own spin on things, and the first known hamburger was made by Charlie Nagreen. He introduced it as his American hamburger at the Outgamy County Fair in Seymour, Wisconsin in 1885. Good on for those county fairs. A lot happened at the county fairs, and that's just one of the things that happen at the county fairs is new ideas that you get to see for the first time. It's almost like the health fairs or any of these fairs that they have, but in the stuffy event places, conference centers, right? But this is out in fresh air, and they have the rides, and they have all those kind of things. So I'll put the link down below for those who kind of watch. But I thought that was kind of really cool. So Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, I'll put those links down below as well. Something else that I got here too as well, and this was a short video, and really this has to do with the vaccination. So the vaccination, people, any vaccination, it's been known by doctors forever and a day that vaccinations over the hundreds of years were not helpful. They did not. Now, most people who take the flu shot take it on trust and believe what it's doing for the system, but don't understand a number of things. One being the various things that are actually in the vaccines. It's just not the pure virus. There's keeping the virus clean, or not bacteria growing in that environment. So they put all these things like aluminum and mercury and all those kind of things. Not something we're supposed to get directly into our blood. Our skin can filter out things, our digestive system can filter out things, but not the same as the blood that gets pumped through our body so much, just keeps circulating. But there is a couple of links here that will help with some codes, some of the things that are being put on the vaccine. There was I can't get the short video, but what I'm seeing now, so I'm gonna there's all of that video that is being talked about, and she goes through it on her website. And but when I did a little exploring myself, one of the things that I'm seeing as tutored for the vaccine is that they hope that it can be, now this is kind of interesting how they say it, experts hope that the jab, I don't know why they're calling it that, this is the head of the UK Vaccine Task Force, Kate Bingham, has said that she is confident it can be produced at scale. So there's different things they have to go through in these stages. But experts hope the jab. Now please people, don't repeat this. It's like, no, we don't want to make things cute. We don't want to make things catchy. We don't want to, but you can do whatever you want at the end of the day. But experts hope the jab could be ready to go and rolled out shortly. But I'm hearing months and whatever. But people are waiting, and that's why they can do this economic stuff, is because things have been into the minds of the people, so we've got to wait for the vaccine to get things back to normal. No, we don't. No, we don't, because the science isn't there. So there have been concerns that the COVID-19 vaccine will not work as well on elderly people, much like the annual flu jab. I don't know why they're calling it a jab, people. I really can't. So let me repeat that again. There have been concerns that the COVID-19 vaccine will not work as well on elderly people, much like the annual flu jab. So what they're saying in this one sentence is they don't believe this COVID vaccine is going to work for the elderly. Now, let me skip into some other things I read. The other things that I read are saying, who should we be giving this vaccine to immediately? This was something I read I don't know if I have the link up here still, but it was something I read, I'm sure I do. Had to do, I think it was CBC Health, and it had to do with okay, so it's rolling out, right, so they're putting in like a task force for the rolling out of the vaccine. And interestingly enough, in there it said, we want to make sure that the elderly and the vulnerable actually get this vaccine. So you can see there's two things here. One is saying that they don't think the elderly it's going to work, and that's the concern. It's not going to work for the elderly like the flu shot. How many elderly get the flu shot? Whew, they're the first in line. They're waiting the first day, waiting in line for hours to get the flu shot. And the elderly, the vulnerable, that's who they want to give it to first, as far as the strategic, the task force that they're putting into place right now in preparation in the cities. And that costs probably money to do that, but they want to make sure there is. So I thought that was an interesting discovery to make here, is that can this vaccine help the elderly? Yep, there have been concerns that the COVID-19 vaccine will not work as well on elderly people, much like the annual flu jab. I'm just going to say shot. I'm going to take jab out of my language here, but annual flu shot. Now, if you've saw earlier research way back when, months and months ago, I know I posted it, there is research that shows people who get the annual flu shot repeatedly, after several years or so, it's shown that it doesn't work. In fact, the flu shots that they may get thereafter may not work at all. Right? So it doesn't have to do with getting the flu correct, which quite often is a very low number anyway, if 0. So if they got the flu shot and people actually got all the flu shot, that's not going to stop flu and cold, as I've said before, is a natural built-in mechanism in our body to detoxify. So it shows you that you are not feeling strong immunity. It's as simple as that. It's showing you that you're burning the candle at both ends. You're using up more energy and adrenal fatigue, whatever it is. An immune system isn't there. So here you go. Time will tell as this is, but you can read it, and at times it will do that. So that's that. Then I wanted to go through one more thing here. Just 3 things are good enough for today. And this is a document. Now, if you want this document, and I didn't get a chance to read it all, but this is just another person who did his homework but has been in tune and was one of his name is Tom Woods, and it's he's got a mask. It's like a little ebook that he gives free if you sign up for his website, and he has a podcast for the last several years. Your Facebook friends are wrong about the lockdown, a non-hysterics guide to COVID-19. So he's a lot of things in here. The doomers and COVID-19. Now, he lives in Florida, and he was saying just how they didn't shut down right away. And he goes through some numbers here. Oh, you're going to have, I'm just going to put this number, 250,000 deaths by the end of the week or next 2 weeks if you don't do something. And that didn't happen. It was about like 5,500 or something like that got it. But there's a difference between cases and deaths, as everybody. No one elected Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, or the infectious disease cartel to perform a social science experiment on the American people. I'm just telling you what's in the book here. The 3 nations of COVID. I wonder if that's the United Nations is one, the World Health Organization. I wonder who the third is. A protest from France, the economics of COVID-19 and the state response, COVID-19, the lockdowns, and human flourishing. I mean, this is the test, this is the growth, this is the opportunity, and what governors can do. So in here, yes, in his observation, this is the good thing about time. As time goes by, we have evidence that there wasn't any pandemic. So wild, exaggerated predictions carried the day. And in Florida, my state, we were told we'd have 465,000 hospitalizations by the end of April, and we had about 5,500. So crazy. Then I noticed that good news from around the world was greeted almost angrily. And this is when he's going on to say, he goes, I have never seen anything like this, and it's as if some people need the virus to be an apocalyptic problem. That's the drama. And he goes on to say, and one of the things that pops out of my mind is we went from let's do the right thing to right here it is. Little did we know that the world would be closed down. So he was going to go some flying, he had to go for meetings or whatever, and this is early March. 1 minute globalism was the best thing since sliced bread, and only a xenophobe would object. And the next minute you were a grandma murderer if you so much as hinted at wanting to see the world. How true is that? So globalism is in place here for sure, as far as all of the, and most of, but not all, because that's, if I've learned anything, if anything were to happen all out, everything, every time, there is no doubt that there's nefarious things going on. But when you have the odd thing that kind of creeps in that says, well, but it didn't happen then, and they didn't lock down, and so forth. So we have all these things. That can change up very easy for people to go, well, but look at this. Like it's just, you know, for arguments, for divisiveness, for all of that. There's much more research people would have to do to determine, even from the cause of death to other things. So this is very, very important. Now, if anybody wants that document, it's about 46 pages long. It's kind of nice to read somebody's perspective and, you know, language, and obviously he's got 12 books, I think he said, somewhere in there. So he's a writer, and when you can have a writer and read their information, they're going to come, he's coming from his personal experience, which is important. Maybe he's just not regurgitating other things that kind of come out there. So that was the third thing I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to post those. That's going to be it for today. Yeah, and also Tom Woods, he has a video on here on Odyssey. Audacity, not Audacity. Well, maybe it's how they pronounce it, but Odyssey or Audacity. He has a video on there, and that's how I learned about him, and that's how I had to kind of see where I could get this free report thing that he mentions. So I found it. So there's a video there, but if you send me your email in a private message, I can easily, or let me know if I have your email, then I can do that. So there we go. We got Roger Hodgkinson, Dr. Rogers Hodgkinson, and we also have Thomas Woods, and what he's communicating. But there's a lot of people that are coming forth more and more, and that is something to, at this time, and to celebrate. So the truths are coming out over time, and obviously more and more things are being done. But I think really the critical thing is not to follow what they're telling us to do. Don't wear a mask. Say that you're exempt. If they won't let you in the restaurant, there are things you can tell them and show them that if they're public or privately owned, they can absolutely tell you that because we're privately owned, we can tell you no. Yeah. And they've been told that information. Then there's nothing you can do about. But what we really need to do is to not make people uncomfortable, for sure. This is the thing. We just got to hold our ground in a way, answer people's questions, make sure people aren't getting all and say that you're exempt. Carry the bylaws with you if need be, so you can show them that you don't have to tell them why you're exempt. Okay, it's really I'd hate, none of your business sounds a little harsh, but the idea is you don't have to. I mean, what if you have medical, it's none of people's business what you have. And if they are uncomfortable, quite often that doesn't happen. I haven't had any conversation like that with people, except for the restaurant that didn't let me in. Yeah, so what we need to do, really, if you're going to do anything, is to pass information on in the most gentle, kindest, compassionate way. Did you hear that the masks may not be protected? Did you hear that the governments are doing certain things like fascism and communistic kind of things? Did you hear? And see what their reaction is, because this is where you're going to best tune into what to say next, or what to tune them into next. Whether it's this Dr. Hodgkinson's name or Thomas Woods, anything like that. So then that's where you can get them to look it up. Masks don't work. Vaccine, don't go into vaccine is kind of more of a heated thing, but that's where you'll be able to gauge. So the first thing is to share information where we can, to get people questioning. It's going on for a long time, right? And two, to actually lead by example. Don't wear the mask. See if there's an engagement that you're getting there. Hold your ground, because when I'm listening to the stories, if somebody's giving them a hard time or giving you a hard time in a store, you say, are you the manager? No. Okay, well, then you can't do anything. So if they're following, which some people do, you speak to the manager. There is an exemption. People can't breathe with the masks on. So there is truly medical exemptions. I don't use a medical exemption, but I don't tell them it's because of human rights, which is written in the exemptions. You don't have to tell them that. So they're usually okay if you keep your physical distancing apart, but sometimes other people are meeting other people in the store with masks on, and they're giving each other a hugs or a handshake or something because they understand. They're in the know of this information. So the idea is those two things, and I guess the third thing is to take care of yourself, right? To be in a place where you're not judgmental, you're bringing in balance, you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your loved ones, you're doing things that makes you, brings peace or a smile to your face or something like that. And keep that space no matter where you go with the exemptions or whatever you're doing. Hold that space. If you feel, and I can tell you, early in the beginning, well, especially when they did the lockdown, and they got to do another lockdown, I can tell you that my negative ego would come in, and I could feel my body just going, wow, I don't, it's the unknown, right? Fear of the unknown. I don't know if going into this store they're going to do, what are they going to do this time? Because it's gone on so long, and they've been not pressured, but they've been hearing it over and over. We got to do our thing. We got to keep the social. They've been hearing this for longer. So I would, in the early days, I would feel this. I'd feel this coming up, and then I would just breathe. I would just relax. I would say, tell my altered ego, my negative ego, to go away, and just to be in peace and relax and just go, because you don't know. Fear of the unknown is a big one. And so if you're feeling a little bit, almost like you have to get up on stage and present to a bunch of people, that will be quite possible and not unheard of and normal. So just understand that you can still do it, and if they don't accept you, there's nothing that you can do about it. I think restaurants probably have the hardest hit. They don't want to close down. And so I think they feel it the most, because that was the first time, the only time I've been to a restaurant. And so in some ways I'm thinking they were hit the most, in a sense of, whether they're working and the place is kept afloat just, month to month or whatever. They don't have the big float, these restaurants, to hang in there. And they don't want to lose they don't want to lose customers, right? Because you can remember, customers are in restaurants. They may be fearful and they may not be. They might just be putting on the mask because they're going to do whatever to go and eat at this restaurant. And while others are very fearful, so they don't want to lose customers, right? So that's the compassion we can have for the restaurants. So I'm not too keen. I'm not too keen on pushing the envelope with restaurants. But it'd be interesting to know if there are any restaurants that accept exemptions for masks. And I could, write a letter to the restaurant. But anyway, here nor there. So let's wrap it up with some jokes. You've learned about the hamburger. That was kind of neat. Okay. Pablo, you mean Pablo, right? The one who treats the dogs over and over, is sitting at a bar when his phone rings and he exclaims, "Oh no, I forgot to feed the dogs." So hasn't he been trained? My friend keeps trying to convince me that he's a compulsive liar, but I don't believe him. Let's see if I can find another one. Some of them I don't want to read out. I don't read everyone. I was wondering why a frisbee appears larger the closer it gets. Then it hit me. That's a cute one. Anyway, that's enough. That's enough jokes for today. So I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful evening, and until next time, we'll come together. But keep aware, and as I said, I think those 3 things are probably a good 3 things. If you have anything else that you think that is important right now, then put it in the comments, because that's something where we're here to interact, to share, to help, suggestions, whatever it is, comments. Please do that. That's awesome. And we will wait till next time. So until next live at 5, enjoy your evening. This is Cheryl Millett for your better health. But that sounds so official. Sorry, I just had to say that. Anyway, I didn't practice that, but it sounds like the official thing to do. So take care, everyone. Bye for now. And we will talk to you soon, or see you soon.